is Mariko and I'm a multimodal therapist and intuitive. In today's video, I wanted to talk about judgment because now more than ever, this topic is so important for us to explore, to delve into, to understand, so that we can become better as individuals and as a collective to refrain from judging others and ourselves as much as possible. And this is because now more than ever, there is more polarization. And this polarization on the external world is actually a reflection of the polarized parts within ourselves and the resistance and the inner kind of turmoil and conflict we experience within ourselves. So I want to delve into this topic and stay tuned till the very end because I'm going to be sharing a very practical exercise that really delves into exposing and understanding to be able to integrate your shadow. So grab a pen and paper for that part near the end of this video. Okay, let's dive straight in. So first of all, when you make a judgment, a few detrimental things are taking place. Number one, you are causing a separation between you and what it is you're judging. So whether that is a person that you're judging, whether it's even you yourself that you're judging or a behavior of yours, you are causing a separation between you and what you're judging. Why is this separation so harmful? Because this separation goes against the very nature of reality. One of the fundamental laws of reality is the law of oneness. So within your own self, whenever you make a judgment, either consciously or most oftentimes unconsciously, you are causing the same separation between what you deem to be you, your personality, your persona, your sense of self, your identity, and whatever within you you've just judged. So let's say you have a craving for a chocolate bar, so you eat it, but then afterwards you judge yourself for being a greedy pig. What happens in that moment is that you deem that part of you that you've just judged as unacceptable, and you cast it outside. You cast it out of your conscious awareness, you cast it into your shadow. And whatever lingers in your shadow cannot become a part of you until you consciously decide to integrate it, to accept it. So to witness it, to accept it, and to integrate it. So we are all made of all of these fragmented parts of us that we have deemed or we have felt others deem to be unacceptable. And those unaccepted parts of us are just hovering there in the background of our psyche, deep within the murky terrains of our shadow, waiting to be integrated, waiting to be healed. And whilst they wait there by themselves, isolated, we feel unwhole. We feel that there is something fundamentally wrong with us. We feel shame or embarrassment or whatever it might be. This might manifest in different ways. This might manifest as us not feeling confident enough to be seen by others. It might manifest as us not trusting that we could ever be intimate with another person. It might manifest as us not being able to take our relationships to a deeper, more intimate level because we feel there's something wrong with us because of these cast out and rejected parts of us that we have at one point deemed to be unacceptable. So every time you make a judgment of yourself or another person, it doesn't matter if it's another person, it's the same thing. You're making a judgment. And so whenever a part of you, whenever you respond in a way that embodies that which you judged, well, you're creating another fragmented part of you in your shadow. And I suppose a spiritual perspective on the purpose of life is, and I don't even want to call it a spiritual perspective, it's not just relegated to that, is that the purpose of life is to remember that which we truly are. And that which we truly are is, once more, oneness. It's wholeness. And so the fact that we keep contributing to our shadows, we keep casting out parts of us that we do not deem as acceptable, that we do not find beautiful, that we do not love, that we cannot acknowledge fully, means we are making that journey towards our own wholeness very, very difficult. We are creating more and more barriers to that process of becoming whole again. And by extension, when we judge somebody else in the external, as within, so without. So we're doing exactly the same thing. What we do on the inside is a beautiful sort of microcosmic example of what's happening on the external world. And in this world that we are living in today, there is so much judgment, so much polarization, whether that's, politically, economically, religious beliefs, whatever it is, gender. There's so much polarization. And what this means is that we are creating more and more barriers, walls, chasms towards becoming one within ourselves, within the collective. So this polarized world that we're living in kind of forgets the true essence and nature of what we are as a collective. We are simply all coming from the same source, whether you want to call it source energy, whether you want to call it God, but we are just, fragments of God with pure source energy within us, pure divinity within us, all experiencing this life as these individuated points of perception, all in order to learn more about itself before returning back to source. And so there is no actual separation between you and the other. We are all pink and fleshy on the inside, and this gets forgotten. And actually, the fact that we're all so different is a beautiful thing, because the only reason that you have a self-concept is because you are not one and the same as everyone else. So the only reason that you have an idea of who you are as an individuated energy stream of consciousness is because of all the differences that you see outside of you. So it's like if you were just one blade of grass in an infinite lawn of similar blades of grass, you really wouldn't understand who you are as an individual. And so it's thanks to all the different people with their different and opposing beliefs and values and appearances, etc., that you get to understand more about yourself. So we should really remember this and be grateful for how different we all are. So in short, whenever you make a judgment, you are making it that much harder for you to heal and feel whole and at peace within yourself, and for the world at large to then by extension feel that peace. The second point I want to talk about is that whenever you make a judgment about someone or something, you're actually saying that you are right, they are wrong. You are good, they are bad. And yes, we live on this earthly plane of dualism. Things are black or white, night or day. But the deeper truth of reality is that of multiplicity. There isn't just a singular truth. There isn't just one path, one way. Things are multi-dimensional, and we are living in a multi-dimensional reality. And so you cannot ever know what the truth is. And we really need to humble ourselves to remember that. Now, more than ever, things that we have felt to be true for a long, long time are coming up to the surface and being proven wrong. So we're going to see more of this as in the next decade, where old concepts that we grew up believing are just going to be shut to the ground. And so the sooner we can get comfortable with the idea that we do not know what's true, we do not know the ultimate truth or what's good for everyone, the easier this period of transition on earth is going to be. Because the truth is, truths are multi-layered and there is good and bad in everything. In practical terms, whenever you make a judgment, you are saying to yourself that that which you judge is not okay. It's not allowed. So, as an example, let's say you judge someone for being unkind. God forbid the day that you behave in a slightly unkind manner. What happens at that point is you're going to experience inner resistance, whether you notice it on a conscious level or not. But that inner resistance comes from the fact that you have deemed that to be unacceptable and you have now become that. So what does that do to you within? Again, that makes your shadow that much deeper and darker. That separates you even more from inner peace. People also often judge that which they are jealous of. So, for example, they might judge someone who's wealthier than them. And what's interesting about this is, again, this creates a wider chasm between them ever being able to attract, create, or attain that which they've judged. So even though they want the thing, they are actually making it that much more difficult for them to attain it, simply because, again, they would have to go against their own created belief about that wealth or whatever that they desire. And that is such a difficult thing for the ego to do. I also noticed something really funny when I was younger. I mean, in my early 20s, I noticed this happening over and over again. Is that whenever I judge something, so let's say I would make a judgment like, oh, I'd never do X, Y, Z. I would notice, 1 or 2 years down the line, I was exactly in the situation where I was doing X, Y, and Z. And, maybe the third time that this happened, I just had to laugh about it. And if anything, it just taught me the total futility of judging. Like, what is even the point of judging when who knows where my life is going to lead me and what I might end up doing, The truth is that we don't know the truth. The truth is that we certainly do not know the truth for somebody else. And we don't know what's good for someone else. And we are all actually doing the best that we can. If we weren't, we wouldn't be doing it. We are doing the best that we can with the knowledge and with the resources that we have in any given moment. And we have to remember this. We've got to stay humble. We've got to be comfortable with knowing that we don't know it all. And it's okay to not know it all. We're not meant to know it all. It's simply the ego that feels a tremendous amount of discomfort because it feels out of control when it doesn't know something. But this is a beautiful time where we are called to not rely solely on our ego, but actually to connect with a deeper truth within us, and understanding that we are multidimensional beings with, a higher self and a shadow self. And the more we can tap into that beautiful intuition of ours and higher guidance, the more we can live in alignment with beauty and love and acceptance and healing and wholeness. It is natural to judge. It's part of human nature to judge. It's part of our survival instincts. But it is totally and utterly possible to judge less and to become more aware of those moments when you are making a judgment, so that these judgments are becoming more conscious and not unconscious. So the question is, what is the antidote to judgment? Well, the antidote to judgment is curiosity. So whenever you find yourself making a judgment about yourself or about someone else, and it could be about anything at all, it could be about someone's political beliefs, it could be that you're at the checkout counter and you find yourself scanning someone's shopping basket and judging what they're buying, I'd like you to follow these next steps. So answer these following questions, and you might want to grab a pen and paper for you to do so. So ask yourself question number 1. What emotion did I feel in the moment leading up to the judgment I made? Number 2, how did judging that person make me feel? Number 3, what story or thoughts am I telling myself about that person or that thing that I've judged? And number 4, what stories or thoughts am I telling myself about myself as a result of the judgment that I made? So, as an example, it can sound like this. Question number 1. The emotion I felt leading up to that moment I scanned that person's shopping basket and I made that judgment about what they were buying was, well, this requires you to really remember that moment. So sit in that feeling, just take yourself back to that very moment, just through remembering, through your memory. Just be curious about what emotion comes up in your system. So I looked at somebody's shopping basket and the judgment I made was, wow, they're buying so much unhealthy processed food. In that moment, I might have felt tension, unease, and fear. And if I dig deeper, that fear may sound like, I worry about people's health. I worry that we are becoming increasingly unhealthy as a people. And so the question number 2, how did judging that person make me feel? I would say, well, initially it made me feel superior because look at my shopping basket. It's got tons of fruits and vegetables in it, and it's not packed with processed foods. So initially there might be a feeling of superiority. But then afterwards, what is the feeling? It might feel a little bit shameful. I might feel ashamed for making that judgment. I might feel sadness and loneliness because I'm noticing someone, with such different values or such a different way of existing than me. But all of these are important, so write them down. Third question, what story am I telling myself about that person? Well, the story I might have been unconsciously telling myself is they're uneducated, they are unhealthy, they are not responsible parents feeding their kids in that way. Could be loads of stories that I'm telling myself about that person. And the fourth question, what story am I telling myself about myself from judging that person, could be, oh, I'm so much better, I'm healthier, I would be a much more responsible parent. Again, it's about not judging what comes out here. So remember, that's the first step of all of this, is to not judge the judgments, not judge what's coming up for you, but again, stay curious. So don't judge what comes up, but just with curiosity, like a detective, just look into these things. And this will tell you a lot about your shadow. It will tell you a lot about what you deem to be acceptable or unacceptable. So in that example, it's that unhealthiness is not acceptable. Health is acceptable. Self-control is acceptable. The lack of self-control is unacceptable. So from this conclusion, you can see then what would be in my shadow, right? Being unhealthy, being irresponsible, and so on and so forth. And once you are aware of these shadow aspects of you, you can just simply start by sitting with them and just acknowledging, okay, there is a part of me that is scared I'm actually irresponsible, is scared I'm an irresponsible parent, for example. Or there's a part of me that's scared I'm unhealthy. There's a part of me that fears being unhealthy. there's a part of me that therefore may be unhealthy. And there is a part of me that therefore may very well be irresponsible. So everything that you're afraid of, everything that you feel resistance for, is in your shadow and has been a part of you that's been fragmented and cast out. So look at each of those aspects and try to accept them without judgment. And this can look like, there is a part of me that's irresponsible and it's okay. I still choose to accept myself anyway. There is a part of me that's unhealthy and that likes sugar and sweets and the unhealthy junk food. And that's okay. And I choose to accept myself anyway. And you can follow any of my tapping videos that drill in these self-accepting affirmations whilst really getting them to sink into your energy field and your subconscious by way of the tapping process. So tapping is excellent for self-acceptance, for really cultivating and nurturing self-acceptance and self-love by acknowledging and accepting your shadow parts. So I would highly recommend following those tapping videos. Okay, I hope this is helpful. And the point of this video is just to remind us to refrain from judging so that we can be the beacons of light, inspiring others to do the same. Because the times in which people observe you not going into reaction, not going into knee-jerk judgment, but just staying back, understanding and having the self-awareness to know that whatever you judge is an extension of what you're judging about yourself. That awareness actually stops you from making those outright judgments, right? The unconscious knee-jerk judgments. That turns you into a more grounded, centered, loving, accepting, and safe person to be around. And that's exactly the type of person that the world needs right now. So I'm wishing you a beautiful week. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or a comment. I love to hear and read your comments. And as always, if you'd like more of this kind of content and if you'd like to be part of my Patreon community, the link is down below. Have a beautiful week.